Just like that, it's over. A 35-year reign, an iron fist over a nation of 90 million people, has been completely shattered. This one event has redrawn the map of power in the Middle East, literally overnight. So we're going to break down exactly how this happened and what on earth comes next. And almost immediately after the news broke, this was the message from the President of the United States. And this wasn't some quiet diplomatic cable. No, this was beamed directly to the people of Iran. A direct call to action, right in a moment of absolute unprecedented chaos. And the reason for that message? Well, it's about as blunt and as world-changing as it gets. The absolute ruler of the Islamic Republic of Iran is gone. So let's be crystal clear about who we're talking about. Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. He's been leading Iran since 1989, dead at the age of 86. For 35 years, his word was law. His power was pretty much unquestioned. And now, that entire era has just come to a very, very violent end. I mean, you really have to stop and think about the sheer audacity of this operation. This wasn't some drone strike on a general out in the field. This was Operation Epic Fury, a joint U.S. and Israeli military action aimed right at the head of the state. And the collateral damage? Wow. It was personal and it was devastating. They also took out 4 of the supreme leader's own family members in the exact same strike. So you're probably wondering, how in the world did they pull this off? Well, when you look at the mechanics, it reveals a level of planning and just overwhelming force that we really haven't seen in decades. To deliver this fatal blow, the United States didn't just, send a few jets. No, it assembled a massive naval force, at least 16 warships in the region. That's not just a strike force, that's a signal. It's a show of overwhelming strength, designed not only to carry out the strike, but to deter any major response. And when you look at the aftermath, the exchange is just stark. It's incredibly lopsided. According to U.S. Central Command, yeah, Iran did launch some retaliatory strikes. But get this, the U.S. suffered 0 casualties and only minimal damage. Their operations were completely unaffected. For Iran, the outcome was an absolute catastrophe. The death of their supreme leader and a government forced into 40 days of public mourning. Which brings us to a huge question, right? How did Khamenei become such a high-value military target in the first place? I mean, taking out a head of state is a massive deal. To understand that, you've got to look at the empire he built. When he took power way back in 1989, Khamenei was actually a relatively low-ranking cleric. But over 3.5 decades, he methodically, piece by piece, consolidated his rule. He transformed the Revolutionary Guard into his own personal force, a loyal military and economic juggernaut. He established his infamous axis of resistance to project power all over the region. And all the while, he was pushing Iran's nuclear program right to the very brink of developing a bomb. Now, this axis of resistance, it really became Khamenei's signature foreign policy tool. And it wasn't about traditional armies. It was all about funding and arming these proxy groups like Hezbollah, the Houthis, and Hamas, to basically fight Iran's battles by remote control. The goal? Create chaos and instability all across the entire region. But here's the thing about empires, right? No matter how powerful they seem on the outside, they eventually crack. And for Khamenei's regime, the pressure wasn't just coming from the outside. It was exploding from within. Just look at this two-front crisis he was facing. Externally, his axis of resistance was collapsing. Hamas was getting devastated in Gaza, Hezbollah's leader was assassinated, and his key ally in Syria, Bashar al-Assad, was toppled. But the greatest threat, that was at home. Starting with the death of Mahsa Amini in 2022, massive protests just grew and grew until hundreds of thousands of people were in the streets demanding an end to the regime itself. And make no mistake, this wasn't some protest just asking for reforms. The chant you could hear echoing all across Iran was death to Khamenei. It was a direct, unambiguous call for the complete overthrow of the Islamic Republic. And it was met by the deadliest government crackdown in nearly 50 years. And that brings us to today. The Iron Fist is gone. The man who ordered that crackdown is dead. And Iran and the entire Middle East are now standing at the edge of a massive, terrifying power vacuum. This quote from a regional analyst, it just cuts right to the heart of the regime's weakness. The state's ideology has failed. It no longer commands the belief or the loyalty of its own people. It ruled through fear, and now the main source of that fear is gone. So, The first huge question is this. Will the Revolutionary Guard, Khamenei's powerful military and economic creation, just step in and seize control? It would be their move to preserve the very system that gives them their immense power. Or do we see the alternative? Well, 90 million people, a huge majority of whom are young and have known nothing but this regime, will they listen to that call to action and seize what might be their only chance for generations to remake their own country? A military junta, or a popular revolution? The end of the Islamic Republic, or just its continuation under new management? With the iron fist gone, the future of Iran is completely unwritten. And the consequences, well, they're going to be felt all across the globe.